Hey, it's Norm from Testing.com, and at the end of 6 months, finally, we're almost ready to reveal the Zoidberg Project. If this is the first time you're seeing this project, you're in for a big surprise. This is Frank Ippolito, makeup artist, a special effects artist. You have been working on this for us for several months now, and it's been quite the journey.
Yeah.
Let's walk through that process.
Cool.
Now, we wanted to create a Zoidberg, a lifelike Zoidberg costume for WonderCon, and that all starts with design.
Yeah.
So here we have Zoidberg basically from the television show, right? And it looks very cartoony. And what did you take from this?
You want it to feel like the cartoon, but I wanted to bring a little bit of life to it, a little bit more realism. And our director friends at Futurama sent me turnarounds of Zoidberg to kind of give me an idea of all of the little nuances of the character.
Right, the shapes, the silhouettes, and what you were telling me, forms is the most important.
The most important thing is the forms on this, because you could get in and sculpt all kinds of little details, but it's not going to be Zoidberg. So it's got to look like him in the broad stroke forms. And
then you went and found some inspiration online. Other people who've kind of interpreted their version of Zoidberg, what it would look like if he was a real life character.
Yeah, I found some drawings online, and then my friend Race did a couple of designs in Photoshop, and this is one of his, which is kind of a little bit more of a realistic version of Zoidberg. And so now I want to find the happy medium between this and the cartoon.
And so you with Race, the next step was to turn this 2D design into a 3D sculpt.
Yes.
And you guys built maquettes, which we have right here. So talk about the process of building these maquettes.
So we took a small head form and we just put clay on there to just kind of block out some shapes. And this is where we got to kind of play with designs. Like some were a little bit more extreme and a little bit more monstery, some were a little bit more subdued. And this is just to kind of get a feel for forms before we go into the giant one.
And like here it looks more like a Cthulhu character.
Yeah.
But what did you end up with? You wanted something that was...
I wanted something that was still a little bit more leaning towards the cartoon, but had that like hint of realism.
With the textures,
yes,
right, of his skin. And from there you built a life-size sculpt.
Yeah.
Now we don't have that sculpt here because you actually use that sculpt.
It gets destroyed in the mold making process.
So what was the sculpting process like?
We took a life cast of another friend of mine, and I started just putting clay on there, similar to the way the maquettes were done, but full size. And from there I worked out all of those forms and shapes and got the silhouette to where I liked it. And just kept refining it until it felt like Zoidberg.
Felt like Zoidberg. It's like, that's the description.
You just get to a point and you're just like, yeah, that's it.
That's
got it. Yeah.
All right. So when you got to that point, you needed to create a mold because it wasn't clay that we're going to put on our heads.
Yeah.
So you want to create there was going to be a foam latex.
Yes.
And talk about the mold making process.
So what we did is I made a 2-piece epoxy mold, and this is an epoxy from Smooth On. I made a core insert, which is where the animatronics are going to fit inside of here. So it almost feels like a little hard hat. So if you imagine the air space inside of a hard hat, that's how much room I have to fit the animatronics, the servos and the radio and all that stuff.
And if you look at the inside of this mold, this is the texture of that sculpt.
Yes.
Right. All the wrinkles, all the creases, it's all here, including the holes for the eye forms.
Yes.
But what's not here are the tentacles, Zoidberg's tentacles. You didn't mold that in one piece.
Yeah, because they're in front of his face, the way mold making works, it wouldn't have been able to get the clay out. And it just never would have worked. So I had to cut his tentacles off to make it work right.
And so you had a separate mold for that.
So there's a separate set of molds for that. And that's what this is. It's again a 2-piece, and it's got a core inside of there. And
that looks like fingers to me.
Yeah, that's the amount of space that we have for the animatronics in the tentacles. If you look at this, without there, that's the sculpture in negative, but then this is how much room I have for the mechanics, and that fits in there.
And that itself is one mold, and then...
Both of these get injected with foam latex.
All right. And then you get something...
And then I get a foam casting.
This is your first foam casting.
This is the first foam casting out of the head mold, and you can see that the tentacles have been cut off. I don't have the tentacle part. It's with the animatronics guy. So...
okay, this looks terrifying.
Yeah, it is very weird looking without his tentacles on.
Can I also mention that this foam latex smells like, it smells like sponge cake? There's a sweetness to it.
That's weird.
It is weird. I can't help but smell that.
Sometimes foam latex is really stinky, and Roland does something to his foam where it doesn't stink too bad.
Best in the business, he also makes the foam latex smell real nice.
Yes.
And these are the seams to where those 2 pieces come apart.
Yes.
Okay.
So we had to get rid of these seams. You cut them off, and then you fill it with a little bit of patching material. Then you got to put the tentacles back on. And then once you do that, then we have another casting, which in the middle of a paint process.
Yeah.
This is Zoidberg with the tentacles now on.
But it's not just going to be a mask that our Zoidberg actor is going to wear. You also have the feet.
We have feet, which these are unfinished versions of the feet, but there's going to have the sandals built onto it, and this will eventually be kind of like a shoe.
Okay, okay.
And then we have the claws, which aren't here either.
Those are being worked on right now.
Being worked on by my friend Ben. And then we also have this body form that's going to go underneath the wardrobe.
So there's wardrobe. You have the tunic.
Wardrobe's getting built.
Wow.
And then this is the form which gives Zoidberg kind of that bell shape.
It's so many different techniques and processes that come together to make this costume. Animatronics, sculpting, molding, casting, painting, and wardrobe.
Yeah.
And it's all going to come together at WonderCon, which is just next week.
Yeah.
So we're not going to make you wait. We're going to jump to WonderCon right now, and we'll see you there, and we'll see Zoidberg there. Here we are. We're at WonderCon 2014. Frank, today's the day.
Finally.
Finally. And it's also your birthday. Happy birthday.
Thanks.
You're working on your birthday.
Yes.
Since we've seen you, it's been a week and you finished up, and you and your team have finished up Zoidberg as a whole. Let's go over all the components now that are done. Let's say from the feet up.
Okay, cool.
Zoidberg's feet, right there.
These were sculpted and then molded, and then this is just a latex skin with a polyfoam inside. And this is foam fabricated L200 on here. We just glued some rubber on the bottom so that I don't slip and fall and tear up the foam.
Okay, it's comfortable?
I put them on earlier and they're plenty comfortable.
Just socks in here?
I'm just going bare feet in there.
Bare feet in there.
Bare feet. They'll be stinky by the end of this one.
Awesome. Thanks, Frank. Moving on up, you have hands.
Claws.
Claws.
So we made the body of the claws out of the fiberglass so that it'll click. And then my buddy Ben Bayouth, he fabricated all the rest of this wrist together. It's just latex that's glued onto here. There's a leather glove inside, and then just some stuff to kind of bulk up the arms so it's not too skinny.
All right. How flexible is that going to be? How maneuverable?
It moves really well.
Yeah,
well, that was what I wanted to get away from, is that original polyfoam and latex casting was too stiff.
Right.
And this just has a ton of movement. Okay. So Ben did an awesome job putting this together. And watch him on Jim Henson's Creature show thing.
Oh yeah, it's on Sci-Fi.
Yeah. So the wardrobe, there's pants with suspenders. There is this mock turtleneck thing, and then the lab coat.
Wow, and this is all custom made?
Yeah, this is all custom made. We added a little bit of cotton batting just to help hide some of the ribbing on here. It'll just make it a little smoother.
Right, and of course what everyone's waiting for is the sculpture of the head. Let's get to that.
Alrighty.
Wow, here he is. That sure looks like Zoidberg. The paint job is finished and it looks very different from what you showed us last week.
Yeah, well, what I started doing is doing a whole lot of subsurface kind of detail-y stuff to really give a bunch of life to it. But the next morning I went in and I was like, you know what? Everything that we've done started out a little bit extreme and trying to make things too lifelike, and then we reeled it back in because Zoidberg is a pretty simple character. The same thing with the colors. He's a flat tone in there. Not that I wanted to paint him all one color. There's still shadowing and some color differentials, but he needed to be a little bit more normal colored and a little bit more plain to really just sell with the rest of it.
Right. He's only three colors. White. He's that green color, and then
this corally kind of color. Yeah.
Sweet. And then inside the animatronics.
The animatronics.
He's gonna move.
Got the remote right there.
All right, so there's remote control here.
Yep,
it's flipped on.
There you go.
And what? Explain how this works.
So we have 4 servos up in the top of the head, and then there's 4 cables that come down to these little mechanisms. Originally, my buddy Terry had designed a 12 servo system, which they would have been able to do everything, but Terry had to go jump onto another project. So my buddy Pete Chivacco came in and put all this together, and we made it work.
So we're going to have someone manning the animatronics. You are going to be dressing up as Zoidberg.
Yep.
It's your birthday. Could not be more appropriate. We're going to walk the floor of WonderCon and surprise some fans.
There you go.
All right, let's do it.
mind if I get a picture of you too, man?
Definitely want to stand next to him? Nah, she's scared.
I'm so honored.
Dr. Zoidberg! It's Zoidberg! With, I think it's in a video. It's in a video?
Wow. Here, I'll hold the head. It's kind of wet.
Okay.